Good evening. Tonight, we're looking at Nigeria. This is the last day of the third month of 2019. And elections have come and gone, some cases still in court, but we're not discussing politics today. We're discussing Nigeria and the way forward. I have two ladies in the studio with me, and I expect that when you call tonight, please feel free to just ask those questions, make it as short as possible, and then we will discuss at length. But what's the topic for today? Nigeria is seen as a progressive country, meaning you have a lot of talents, men and women. We go very far. But yesterday we were great. Today, not so great. So what will tomorrow bring? That's one question. The other question is dealing with corruption. Is corruption really the problem, or the way we understand corruption to be, or the way we follow the rule of law? And the other one is Mother's Day. Today is also Mother's Day, and Christendom and the rest of the world have been paying tributes to Mother. I have two great ladies in the studio with me. They are both mothers. How do we see mothers? Are women really that important? And if so, what roles are they playing in making the country to go forward? And the women themselves are saying, do you really treat us that well? Anyway, welcome. I have Mrs. Amina Kolo Baldwin, Executive Trainer in Leadership, Negotiations, and Conflict Resolution. And she has special interest in women's affairs. And then we also have Mrs. Ronke Solude Ogunbufunmi, who's a project management consultant overseeing agricultural projects, who deals with people at the grassroots level. So she's like the bridge between urban and rural people. Both of you, welcome to Soni Irabor Live.
Good evening.
All right, so I don't know how you see Nigeria of today. Can we just look at it after all the... There's no way we cannot deal in and out of politics and the rest of the world, but how do you see Nigeria today? Amina.
Nigeria is my country.
Oh,
I love it. We'll always love it.
Okay.
But we have to see it for what it is, what it has become. I'm of a certain age, so Nigeria that I knew, that I grew up to, is not the Nigeria we have now. And it's of great sadness to, I think, many of us that have seen Nigeria decline, and decline in so many ways. We're different people than we were 30, 40 years ago. And the mind boggles as to why we are that, but we are different people. And therefore, Nigeria is different.
Ronke, what's your view on this?
Well, Nigeria will always be close to my heart. I come from mixed parentage, actually, but my Nigerian heritage is very strong. I've grown up with a very strong family, especially my father. He's also of mixed heritage, but his Nigerian heritage is very strong. And I think also our children have grown up in Nigeria. They have a strong heritage. So we can't give up on Nigeria, but we see the decline, especially from the 80s through the 90s up till now. And sometimes our children ask us, Mom, why are we in Nigeria? When we travel, we see good infrastructure, we see the government taking care of people. I like to build a vision in their minds to tell them that, well, our generation has done its best and will continue to try. But then you children are the children of the future. And I think that there'll be a place for you to take up from where we live. So I think we should continue to always have hope for Nigeria, even though we see what's going on. We have to keep the dream alive.
If I may take the track of what you just said, don't you think that your children will rebel against what they see? Because they're not getting full value of what the way the rest of the world is dealing with children. Is that the way Nigeria deals with their children?
But this has become a cultural norm. They grew up to this, they've seen this, and that has become their norm. So I don't think they will rebel. As far as they're concerned, this is Nigeria. I don't see that.
But does that mean is the Nigeria they dream of, or is the Nigeria compared to other countries? That's where the problem is.
The comparison.
I think probably it's not the Nigeria that they would love to have.
Okay.
There's no way anyone can go overseas and see how things work and then come back on that plane, and as you are landing in Lagos or in Abuja or wherever, no, we have to be real.
Yeah.
As you land, you go, okay, welcome home. We love our country. There's no doubt about it. But you land and you know, here we go. So there's no way that they won't see that as too difficult decisions to straddle whether or not they love Nigeria for being different, and that's their reality, or whether it's just, how can we change this? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. My children also a bit multicultural, and they love Nigeria. My daughter specifically loves Nigeria because it is so different.
Yes.
Anything can happen here.
Oh, wow.
Anything.
I like that. Anything can happen here. All right. So I believe there's hope.
Yes.
That's
Of
what
course.
you're saying.
There has
Yes.
to be.
And there has to be.
Yes.
Who's going to bear the cat for charting the right path to that hopefulness, not hopelessness?
For me, that's a question someone else other than me has to answer, because I've seriously,
Okay,
I found
Ronke.
it.
Yes,
I really
I
don't
would
know.
actually agree.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. Our generation, I think it's slipping, but we're supposed to really keep hoping. But our children, the future is in our children. How that is. The other thing that bothers me is I understand and think for my children that history is not being taught in schools. So you've got a bit of a disconnect between what we always talk about and what they're seeing. But I always like to say in Nigeria, the dysfunctionality, we pray that we find a way to make a difference. How that is, I really don't know.
You both have some roles to play in leadership training. So, what do we expect from leaders in all of these? Would they lead us? Do they understand what they need to do to lead us to the right path? And the people themselves, are they willing to be led? Do they understand how to obey that simple rule of law?
It's a whole reorientation, isn't it? Your leader has to have a vision, and that vision has to be one that is going to cause a massive change. If we're talking about how to change the Nigeria we know now, a massive change. And we have to buy into his belief that what he's preaching is the right thing for us. Once you convince your followers that what you're doing, even though it's painful, it's the right thing for us long term, we'll follow. That's the bottom line.
You hit the nail on the head, leadership by example. Yes. Okay, so let's move on to something else. You're involved in something called Pathfinder Series.
Yes.
A career fair.
Yes.
Now, career, for the young ones, it's something that it molds their lives.
Yes.
They nurture them, and then they move to the position of authority
Yes.
when the time comes. Can you expatiate on your Pathfinders?
My Pathfinders is more for people who are not sure where to go. Where to go next. Now,
Okay.
so that could be someone like me. Being midlife, my children are out of the house. What am I going to do with the next part of my life? But of course, many of us come out of university, or many of the youth come out of university, and they're not quite sure where to go. They may have a degree that doesn't take them to where they want to be. So we've discerned that there are 5 areas, 5 sectors that we call low career entry. It doesn't require you to go to school for it, but you may sit down and think, I really think I could do very well in fashion. I may not have been in fashion up until now, but I think I can do well in fashion. So what we're going to do is have influencers who will tell you how they made it big in those particular areas. And then in the afternoon, we'll have a chance for them to have mentors that will push them forward in whatever it is that they've decided to do. Our 5 career areas are entertainment, IT, fashion, real estate, and agri. And those are the areas that we feel that everybody knows somebody that really wants to do that. And that's what we're going to do.
The passion in the way she expresses it.
It's real.
Okay, agriculture. She mentioned agriculture there. I'm interested in that. What's your experience? Agriculture. Well, I think I heard the minister say that agriculture was really riding high on the Nigerian revenue generation profile.
Yes.
So, what do you have to say?
I believe, we've caught the vision. Someone that sticks to mind is our former Minister of Agric, Additional.
Okay.
He
He's now
really-
with the ADB.
Yes, he is. He's a very passionate leader, and he did not just speak, he acted. And I think he drafted policies that were really able to go to the grassroots, to the different regions of Nigeria. So in particular, I oversee farms in the north central part of the country. And we have abundance of land, we have abundance of water, we have good climate. But as usual, the average smallholder farmer, of which Nigeria is, that's our typical farmer structure in Nigeria, smallholders.
Is that what the one we used to call subsistence farming?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Scattered everywhere,
Right.
no planning, no thought of maybe road access, water irrigation, etc., etc. So that's the first issue. Anyway, so we come into this stage of farming, Most people don't have the right herbicides, pesticides. The seeds are not always able to germinate properly. They don't have water. They don't have good roads to access for market. So those are the constraints we deal with. But in my own little way, I have structured a small farm cluster whereby we have farms that are growing the same produce in larger quantities so that we can sell to markets and make a good profit. Because our smallholder farmers grow very little. In fact, maybe typically their acreage can grow 10 tons of carrots. But what you find in Nigeria, the smallholder farmer with the lack of education, they only grow like 2 tons. So at the end of the day, really, they're not really making a lot of money. And they're not able to feed their families. So that's the main problem that we've encountered.
So how do you bring them together to try and maybe create a network?
Yes, yes.
How does
That's
that
the clustering concept that we're talking about.
The clustering.
Yes,
okay.
so you have
Right.
all the farms linked as close as possible, if not right next to each other.
Yeah.
You form a cooperative. So a number of farmers, maybe you can suggest a minimum of 20.
Yeah.
That's what a cooperative is. You all put some money together, you share resources, you share inputs. You
With the hope that
with the
each
hope that
person
you
will
all
get
grow.
more.
Yes, that's correct. You get more.
Okay, so we'll just take a short break now, and when we get back, we're going to Mother's Day. We'll be right back.
Make your event a memorable one with captivating and well-organized event center at Lagos Television's prestigious Blue Roof with a capacity of more than 3,000 seats and a fully air-conditioned 750 seats combo hall capacity. Suitable for annual general meetings, government functions, exhibitions, religious activities, wedding ceremonies, burials, musical show, and many more in a well-secure environment. Spacious car park, uninterrupted power supply, and impeccable facilities. Take advantage of all of these at affordable rates.
For inquiries, please call 0808-252-8742 or 0802-282-9898.
Lagos Television Event Center, a tasteful event center for your delight.
They always say time flies when you're in a nice company. I'm in the company of some brilliantly beautiful ladies. They're just doling out intellectual facts and figures, and I'm watching. Overwhelmed? Maybe. Okay, they're also mothers, by the way. And it's Mother's Day, 31st of March, 2019. I will date this program because I don't want to forget it in a hurry. Mother's Day, what does it mean to you out there? What does it mean to the ladies, and what does it mean to me? My mother died in 1984, but I still feel the power of motherly presence in my wife, in my aunties, in my sisters, in all of them. So, Mother's Day. Hi, Mother.
Hello.
Happy Mother's Day, Mother.
Thank
you.
Is that all there is to it?
It's never all.
Okay.
The bottom line is the hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world.
That's right.
I say that so passionately because however much the oga in the house feels that he's the oga, the real business takes care when mom speaks to her children and says, this is the way it's going to be. You know that. You have a mommy.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I never comment yet.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am?
Yes.
Nice, I called you ma'am.
Women, what would the world do without women? Well, you have women being celebrated today. Actually, women, we're so busy trying to manage our homes and our situations that we even forget the day that is set aside for us to stop and think of how influential we are in families. Women, I mean, I just think of people I know who have lost maybe their better half and how life is really not the same without a woman. A woman is a gift from God. We're precious. We hold life and we mold life, you know. And I think we look at ourselves, we don't give too much kudos to ourselves as we should. We like to be the still voice in the fierce storms of life. But I'm as a mother, I always look at it as an honor to be born and to be given the privilege to be a mother to children. And I think apart from my own biological children, I try and impact the lives of other children around me.
God,
Very important.
something interesting here. Is there any competition between father and mother where the children are concerned?
It should be teamwork, shouldn't it? There
Well,
should be
that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, there should be no zone specifically for dad,
Okay.
zone specifically for mom. That, I think, is where the problem lies, isn't it?
So you are registering the fact that there is a problem.
Very often.
Yes.
Okay.
Very often. We have to concede that.
I'm enjoying this. Okay, you too?
Yes, I agree.
You agree?
Yes, there are conflict zones often. We're two different individuals coming to a marriage, and then obviously to bear the children. Sometimes daddy wants the children to side him, and sometimes mommy wants the children to side her. Sometimes, you know, we women, we think with our emotions. At times the men tend to sort of think things straight. So if we can both try and balance discussions, arguments, considerations in a sort of balanced manner, things would obviously always be for the
Is
better.
that achievable?
It's very
You know, there's a reason why God made us
Yes.
different,
Yeah.
man and woman
Yes.
different. And when we come together, we achieve the perfect synergy. Synergy meaning
Synergy,
the balance. Yeah?
Yeah.
And I believe that men bring a lot to the table that actually it's a bit difficult bringing up children as only a mum. There should be a dad. It would, however easy it is for us to say, really, we could do without dad. Once dad is done, we can do. The fact is, for a child to be the best he can be, it would be preferable to have both parents. And both parents should bring what comes on board as a man and as a woman.
That's correct.
I do believe that.
All
I
right.
may be wrong.
Husband and wife, mother and father.
Yes.
Husband and wife, father and mother.
Yes.
Okay. How much respect can they accord each other to create that balance you're talking about?
Yeah.
How much respect should they accord each
Yes.
other?
Should. I
Should,
love the
yes.
should. Yes.
The bottom line is both of them have to see it as you said, teamwork.
Yes.
So there's no one person that will overrule the other, so that your children know, just because mom says no, it doesn't mean rush to dad, and dad will say yes, and dad will override. That, I think, is a very important thing that tends to become a problem in the home, doesn't it? People think, oh, well, dad's the boss, let me go ask him. And that's something that can cause friction between husband and wife, don't you think? Or maybe
Okay,
not.
we have a caller. Hello. Okay, I've been asked to let you know that the phones are open. Just call us. It's on the number is on the screen. Call us, and we'll respond because the topic is getting, you know. Now,
Interesting.
what about where the child sees a little friction and begins to take advantage, depending on how it benefits him or her?
Children do take advantage. They're very smart.
Very.
At times you see in a typical, I mean, I can only use myself as the best example, whereby one or two of my children, depending on the discussion, you know, they see that, oh, maybe daddy's weaker on this subject. They might quickly come and say, oh, mommy, this is what daddy said. And they're expecting me to give them a tip as to how to handle the situation. But I think at times we have to lend our voices out to say, you know, to our spouses, please support me on this, because sometimes we take things personally.
Very important.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we don't give a balanced, you know, look at things. But it's teamwork, like my
It
sister
is.
said. We have to constantly remind ourselves that we're in this together. You know, so where you're weak, I'm strong.
There's a
Where,
problem. Single motherhood.
yes.
How does it affect the upbringing of the child?
I think there has to somewhere in that child's life be a couple of males that they can, especially if it's a male child, someone that they look at and think, yeah, that's what I want to be. That's what I would like my father to be, even if he's not around. It's very, very important, because I think with a male child, probably more than a female child, you have to have a strong man influence to give you the balance, because you're with a lady all the time. And very possibly, we don't, as I said, it's teamwork. We possibly don't give them enough to make them as rounded a male as they should be. So I do believe there should be some males in their lives.
It affects the children sometimes
Yes,
when
it
they are
does.
at school and they're talking to their peers and all of that, and they suddenly, a father comes to see one of their friends, and his doesn't show up,
Yes. Yeah.
and vice versa. So sometimes it affects the psyche of the
Yes,
child.
yes,
Certainly.
yes.
How does that child now cope or fit into that society?
Yes.
What kind of advice can you give to either the mother or the child in such situations?
Fitting in, fitting
Maybe
in.
the teacher actually,
Yes.
you know. What kind of
In
advice?
school, you mean?
I don't know if I believe that it should start from the teacher. It's
Okay.
got to be from mum.
home.
Mum has, yes. I am a teacher myself, so
Okay.
give me, I'm not trying to knock the role of the school. But I think from the very, very beginning of a child's existence, knowledge of norms, it comes from the home. And if dad is not around and dad is remarkably not around, I think it's for it's mum's job to create a balance for him that makes him know, okay, well, dad isn't around, but look, you've got this uncle or you've got this male figure that is so proud to have you
Some
in their
guys
lives.
don't like another man near their mother.
No, but the point is, some children. you mean.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but the thing is that man should exist for the boy,
Yes.
not necessarily for the woman.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a distinction.
Okay. Right, okay. This is Soni Irabor Live. I expect calls. You should see the numbers on the screen. Just dial the number, call us, and we will respond. But in the meantime, the woman in the society, is she being relegated? Does she have equal rights? Do you women feel well respected and treated by society and by fellow men? Gender sensitivity.
Well, I believe that your feeling, if you want to look back, I think for a woman especially, it starts from the home, because, you know, we call Nigeria a male society, or a man's world. That's what they call it out there. But I think in a home, a mother and a father's role is so important, because the girl child in the home will be very sensitive about her upbringing. You know, how is she, I won't say respected, how is she, you know, what happens to her in the home? Is she accorded, if she has brothers, accorded the same rights as the brothers, in their, you know, the lives of their friends, in school? If she has problems in school, feeling insecure, being bullied, not feeling accepted, I think the building blocks start from the home. When you now look at the society, well, hoping that she's got a firm foundation at home, when she comes into the society, she comes of age, she will take the sense of security out to either university and the workplace. And, you know, a woman needs to cleave with other strong women. They need to also have a listening ear in instances where they feel insecure or they have problems. Because if you also always blame it on the society, oh, we're not accepted, what have you done for yourself would be my question. How have you empowered yourself? Have you honestly said that you've tried empowering yourself? You've got mentors as strong women? What have you done on your own accord? Because when you say society, who are you going to identify in that society? I think men also respect women who seem to be able to handle their situations right. So I think it's a two-way situation.
Okay. Now you have a lot of women claiming rights.
Yes.
You know, you have their, what are the
Me
names they
Too.
call them now? Me Too.
Yeah,
right.
Me Too movement.
So what's the yardstick for measuring that kind of rights demand? Is it so open that women are ill-treated or not well-respected, or what?
Well, you speak to a woman that has been disrespected, I can assure you.
Yes.
She will tell you that she has been. I think it would be wrong of us to say it's that they've deceived themselves, that they have been disrespected, that they haven't actually been disrespected. I do think somehow, and I know I'll be fairly unpopular for this, we might have been taking it to the nth as women, and so now men feel that women have to be treated to the other degree with caution. In the workplace, I am of the firm belief, and once again, as you said, in the home, your parents should make you feel not as a girl child, you're a child. And as you grow, you have a role in society that is your role.
Yes.
Don't worry about the fact that you're a woman. You don't start off with that preconception, and you won't feel it. So this concern that I have about these growing functions of the Me Too movement and all that is that it will make the man feel we have to treat that woman really specially because she's a woman and she may come back at us with the talk of being disrespected. That
Okay.
worries me a bit.
Understand we have a call. Hello. Good evening. Hello.
You know, there's no light, put on generator. Everything is the sound of generator.
Okay.
I'm not.
All right. Are you on to Soni Irabor Live? How are you?
Oh, good evening, sir.
Good
My
evening.
name is Elijah Mohammed. I'm speaking from Shomolu.
Okay.
Soni Irabor has just said that he lost his mother in 1984.
Sorry?
It makes me to remember my own mom I lost in 1964. He lost his own in 1984. I lost my own in 1964. So I'm taking the mothers there representing my mother. So I'm greeting them because, like she always says, till now, if you come to my sitting room, the picture of my mother I lost since 1964 is there hanging. So, yes, the mother is an important, very, very important love of the child. So I appreciate that.
Thank
So
you.
I'm appreciating the mothers, the two mothers there.
Okay.
I don't know if Soni Irabor, because it's you that you listen to me. Will it get into the studio?
Did I what?
Hello?
What did you say?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello?
I can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead. I can hear you. Go ahead. Hello?
I said,
Yeah?
what?
What? Okay, I missed what he asked there, but he was asking a very important question. I wish they had allowed him to finish. Sorry, you can call again, but the point, there was a good sentiment. He lost his mother 1954 or 64?
64.
I think
20
he
years
said.
before. Mine was in 84.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
One up for you, sir. You're not a young man at all, I can tell you that. But then, the passion with which he referred to his mother
Yes.
from way back,
Yes.
that's about 50, how many years ago?
Yes.
About 53 or so years ago. It shows how much mother means to any child. So,
Yes.
as I joked before the program started, is there any man or woman not born of a woman?
Not
There's
that we
none.
yet know. None.
So, okay. Thank you. The line is free again. Where were we? We were talking about Me Too.
Yes.
And I think the concept of Me Too sounds very remarkable and appreciable because of the fight against rape,
Yes.
subjugation, and anyway, they say in every situation, the women and children are often the victims of circumstance. Look at the Northeast scenario or the Niger Delta.
Yes.
You see women and children always at the receiving end.
Yes.
What do you advise leaders and indeed men? The other question will soon come. What do you advise leaders and indeed men to do to make sure that women and children are properly catered for and protected?
Okay. It's something that we need to go back to the drawing board to look at. I think this is where our leaders need to understand the dynamics of history and the involvement of women. I think as far back as 1924, Funmilayo Ransome Kuti was one of the first women to drive a car. So we're talking about women emancipation as far back as then. The leaders, well, I'm a lawyer by training, and I think our laws need to be strengthened to protect women, to give them, to ensure that women know their rights, and also education, basic education. We need to also promote in our environment, which means that not only do people hear that from school, but even our general orientation to understand the rights of women, the importance of women, and how it's important to educate our women as much as we educate our boys. Not to treat our women as victims or as second-class citizens, but it needs to really be homed in schools, in churches or mosques, in our marketplaces, everywhere we go. The seed needs to be sown that women are in a special place in our society, and that we need to change the way we think. We need to have role models as women. I think that's lacking a lot nowadays. I'm sure there are many strong women both in the north, the south, the east, and the west. So we need to gather momentum. Also, as women, we need to do our own path in society, not just leave it to the men.
Yeah. All right. So when we get back, we'll be discussing women, their leadership roles, and do they have a chance? Do we have a call? Okay. Hello. Hello. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, the nitty-gritty. House of Parliament, that's how the British call it. National Assembly. How many women in Senate and how many senators altogether? House of Representatives. How many women in the House of Representatives and how many seats altogether? They said, break it down to the states, governorship, federal, ministerial, and so on and so forth. What's the ratio of women in leadership positions, and is there denial, in quote now, adding or reducing the element of progress in our Nigerian development level? I don't know how, I'm a bit overwhelmed.
Why are you overwhelmed?
Because suddenly I'm realizing, okay.
I think we should distinguish between women in business when I talk about corporate.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the people that
and women in politics.
That make the decisions for our country as they move forward. We know we are grossly underrepresented in the latter.
Yes.
We know this. How to change this, once again, is social orientation, without any doubt. When we see leaders in our schools, we shouldn't infer that they must necessarily do well in business. Go make some money. It's not about that anymore. If we want to have a voice as women, I think we should start encouraging our women to have a voice in politics, go towards politics. I think many of us, though, are somehow, we were talking at the very top of the show about how a bit disillusioned we are about the Nigeria that we find ourselves in. And I think many of us find ourselves not able to walk that walk towards politics because we think, why? Unfortunately, why? But right now, I think without any doubt, our children should be encouraged to look towards politics, especially the female ones, to look towards politics as a future. Clean up our act as a nation. And that's the only way that we're able to head forward, I think.
Okay. Ronke?
Okay. Leaders, well, like say, leaders are not born. You actually develop to be a leader. So that goes back again to, I think, massive education. Presently, I've lost track of how many women are in the Senate, how many women are in the House of Assembly.
It's less than 30%.
Okay, so
very much less.
Which means that obviously it's not working. But I think again, like you said, we can't just sit on the fence. We must wake up. We should try and form groups, be it from our low level, or should I say your immediate surroundings. I think women need to support more women. More women need to go into the ward level and then the local government level. Yes. Women were powerful. I mean, we're a strong percentage in Nigeria as a group, so we need to leverage on that. The positions won't just come to us like that. We will need to make a difference, and I think we can.
With the fear expressed about violence and the way some people, try to hijack the processes. Yes. How does that encourage women who are usually seen as the weakest sex?
Yeah. That's a mistake.
We can't.
I like
no,
that. That's a mistake. Did you hear that? That's a mistake. Okay, let's hear that.
No, that's the reality of it. I think if men are deferred or dissuaded from entering politics for reasons like that, so are women, and vice versa. I don't think women are less able to stand and deal than men. So I'm not sure that would be a reason that a woman wouldn't head into politics. Yes. I think there are more compelling reasons not to in the Nigeria of now. I think, as you were saying, we look to a certain extent at politics as if you are literally going in there to make money. Yes. It may not be a popular thing to say.
Should that be the case?
Of
really?
course
not.
No, of course not. But politics in Nigeria, unfortunately, has been distilled as that. So a parent would not encourage their child, especially a female child, to enter politics.
Are you sure Nigeria is not derailing with this mindset, talk about money, everything? Yes, money seems to dictate the pace.
If it takes it.
And if that is the case, then so many things are going awry.
Yes.
Absolutely. You've been well-traveled, both of you.
Yes.
You live abroad. How do you think this process works out there? What can we learn from it?
We have to remember that we are not yet quite as developed as those nations.
When
that
are we going to stop thinking that we're not yet?
Because we aren't. Quite simply. Let's be real. Let's be pragmatic.
I think we're going back in time rather than not yet.
Yes. I mean, the country that I knew 30 years ago was certainly not the one that we're living in now, which is what I said at the very beginning. Something has happened along the way. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I'm not enough of a historian to track it. But something happened along the way that, as you said, derailed us, and it's all been about the almighty dollar.
Yes.
Or the,
time flies when you're in a nice company. I've just been told time up. All right, time up. What's your advice? That last statement hit me below the belt. But I have to face the reality. 1 minute to go. In a few seconds, what's your take and what's your advice for Nigeria
As a whole.
of tomorrow?
I think Nigeria, we need to sit down and have a good reflection of where we find ourselves. We have to tell ourselves the honest truth and also ask ourselves, are we happy where we are? A majority of Nigerians travel. I travel quite a lot. And we see how things are done abroad. Our children even get to see how things are done abroad, watching television or on social media. And we have to ask ourselves, is this how we're going to continue? The answer obviously is no. So we need to re-educate our children. But unfortunately, as I go around the country and I see the way our schools, our educational system, it's all gone south, unfortunately. So I think we need to start to strengthen our educational institutions. From educational institutions, our mindset will change, our orientation will change. I think we can't give ourselves too long a yardstick to measure. We have to take things gradually.
Amina?
I've always said it comes from the home. You bring up the children to feel, or your children to feel that it's not all about how much money you make. It's about what you can give back. It's about how satisfied you are at the end of the day of creating a world that is a better place to live. It's so important, and that comes from the home. The school also has a responsibility to make sure that that is a reality in our world, but it comes from the home. We've got to wake up, parents.
Charity begins at home.
Yeah.
It begins from home. And I'm talking to the camera now, and I'm saying, as we say good night to you, think of the fact that you as an individual, what can you add to this whole discussion of progress? How do we develop ourselves? How do we carry the next person along? And how do we live by example? Leadership by example, leading by example, living by example. And if you see someone without a smile, give him one of yours. But also remember, what you don't want done to you, don't do it on to others. Goodbye now. From Soni Irabor.